Does violent video games lead to aggression? This is a video presented by David Lee and Jack Wong. Adam Lanza, a 20-year-old killer responsible for the infamous Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting, killing 26. Investigators found that he played many games, owning the traditional violent shooters, COD and GTA. However, which game was he addicted to? It was later found that he often went to the local cinema, where he was addicted to an arcade game. You guessed it, Dance Dance Revolution. Over time, we have developed a tradition of being against both violent video games and media, as said by Catholic scholar John Ryan, comparing the media to mental food, of which sadism, cannibalism, torturing, killing were all included in the menu. Violent video games are often seen as a factor in motivating shockingly youth crimes, such as high school shootings in the United States. One of the students who carried out the Columbine High School massacre in 1999 used a gun he called Arlene, which is named after a character in a novel inspired by computer game Doom. They are just examples of violence being linked to video games. The Pew Research Center reported in 2008 that 97% of youth ages 12 to 17 played some sort of video games, which 2/3 of them played action and adventure games containing violent contents. Half of video games rated by ESRB, Entertainment Software Rating Board, contain violence, and 90% of those games are rated appropriate for children aged 10 and older. First of all, what are violent video games? Violence could be defined as behaviors involving physical force intending to hurt, damage, or kill someone or something, or just simply intentional physical harm. In video games, it is graphical violence such as animations or scenes in the category of violence media. Examples include famous Battlefield first-person shooter that involves killing and torture using weapons in an attempt to replicate the cruelty of war and has sold millions of copies worldwide, which brings to the old age debate of whether violent video games lead to aggression. The APA, the American Psychological Association, argued that violent video games may not be the single risk factor of violence, but it did contribute. After creating a summary of more than 400 studies, they claim that there's a significant link between violent video game use and violent behavior. The task force chairman, Mark Applebaum, said that while there are some variations among the individual studies, a strong and consistent general pattern has emerged from many years of research that provided confidence in our general conclusion. And the summary of the APA report stated that the research demonstrates a consistent relation between violent video game use and increased aggression behavior. Furthermore, it is a accumulation of risk factors that tend to lead to aggression or violent behaviors, and video games is one such risk factor. However, Stephen K. Pinker, from Johnstone Family Professor in the Department of Psychology at Harvard University, stated that the data shows no causation between graphical violence that lead to physical violence. He said that the data shows that video games have skyrocketed in popularity during exactly the historical period in which violent crimes sunk to the floor, in the same age cohorts, referring to youth. This is reinforced by Christopher Ferguson, Associate Professor and Co-Chairman of the Department of Psychology at Stetson University. He said that basically by keeping young males busy with things they like, you keep them off the streets and out of trouble. He says that newer studies have also failed to find a connection between violent games and any sign of violence. A major study assessed by the APA was a study done by psychologist Albert Bandura, done in the early 1960s, which he took 72 preschoolers into a room where they are playing. A couple of minutes later, with another adult that would come into the room, who would sit in another corner and play with a mallet, Tinker Toy set, and a teddy bear. The adult would do this aggressively, attacking the door while making sure that the child would be able to see. Afterwards, the child would be led into another room where they would play with the toys that were smaller versions of the ones the aggressive adult was playing with. Once again, there was a mini teddy bear, a mallet, and a smaller Tinker Toy set. Observations made by Bandura show that the ones who watched the teddy bear get mistreated were much more likely to mistreat the mini teddy bear itself, implying that watching violent media and games may influence the person to reenact the events in their own life. The models representing the hypotheses of negative effects of video games focuses on the potential for players to model behaviors witnessed in video games due to the interactive nature of the games. Well-known theories of such effects is the general aggression model, or as known as the GAM. The purpose of the GAM is that playing violent video games lead to cognitive scripts of aggression which will be activated in incidents which they think are hostiles, while playing video games become an opportunity to rehearse an act of aggression and become more common in real life. The GAM suggests that stimulated violence in video games may influence a player's thoughts, feelings, and physical arousal, which can create a short-term and possibly long-term effect on individuals' interpretation of an aggressive or violent act. Another model is the catalyst model, and it suggests that stress and antisocial personality caused by playing video games are major factors leading to aggression, implying that aggression is a combination of genetic risk and environmental strain. However, despite all the studies and research done previously, the hypothesis that playing violent video games increases aggression is claimed to be supported by various studies, but other studies found no links. Debate among scholars on both sides remains contentious, and yet to reach a clear consensus for the effects of violent video games, whether to support the positives or the negatives. The conclusion is that even though there are no direct links between aggression caused by violent video games, sensitive content that is graphical violence should be regulated and guidelines for warnings of such content should be included. Like Dr. Richard Williams from Trade Body Tiger said, although there are adult games, there are also adult films, books, TV shows. The content should be and is regulated to ensure children and minors do not play inappropriate material. Everything needs a limit, so does violent video games. As Mark Twain once said, too much of anything is bad.
We're dreaming on and on, we're dreaming on and on. We got the windows down, we got the windows down. I'm chasing all